What is going on, everybody? It's the Franz, and this is UnScripted episode number 117. And we got some breaking news as I went on Twitter right before I started to record this on Saturday, May 2nd, 2020 at 10:46 p.m. Jimmy Uso is out. He is out for another 6 to 9 months with a knee injury. Thought to have sustained it at WrestleMania during that triangle ladder match. So the Usos just cannot catch a break. The Usos continue to have something go wrong, whether one of them gets injured, one of them gets it with a DUI. But Jimmy Uso is out for another 6 to 9 months. I didn't see that coming. I don't think anyone's seen that coming. I mean, he was on SmackDown a couple weeks ago. So, I don't know what the knee injury was that caused him to be out, but boom, he's out. What is going on? Who the hell knows? Maybe that's why the Forgotten Sons have been put into the position that they're in. Maybe that's why the Lucha House Party have gotten some kind of a renewed push. All I know is the Usos will be out of commission. Will Jay be wrestling? Most likely not. WWE has this directive with the Usos that if one is out, they're both out. So WWE without the Usos for 6 to 9 months. One of the few times I remember that the Usos actually were out with injuries. I don't remember which one it was, but the other Uso went on commentary for a while for SmackDown. This is before 2016. This was probably a 14-15 time era where they had one on commentary just for a bit. I don't think with many people watching SmackDown. I didn't really watch much of SmackDown until it went live. SmackDown, after I think 2007, really became very fucking boring and put you to sleep faster than Monday Night Raw ever did. So, WWE's tag team division on SmackDown. One, we know it's atrocious. The Usos, again, out of the picture. Maybe that's why the New Day won the tag team titles. Maybe when they did that triple threat match on SmackDown, it was originally supposed to be the Usos that won the match. But then it was found out that, hey, Jimmy's injured. Let's have Big E win him. Maybe that was the plan. It was originally supposed to be the Usos. Because the Usos in the New Day, for the last few years, have had this shtick going around where the New Day become X amount of champions, the Usos are one behind them, the Usos win the tag team titles, the New Day win them again, and they go back and forth, so the New Day might be the first 8-time tag team champions since the Dudley Boys. So then the Usos would be them, and then so on and so forth. But no, as we know, the Usos did not win. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Jay as long as Jimmy is out. Will he be on commentary? With the recent video that popped up a couple days ago from Sam Adonis, the brother of Corey Graves, who, if I'm correct, worked in Mexico as a pro-Trump supporter, which in Mexico was a godsend to this guy simply because he could use that to get as nuclear heat down there. But he posted a video of Corey Graves warming up with him in a wrestling ring and even hitting an STO and Corey Graves hitting an STO. I asked, is this Corey Graves making a comeback? It looks like he's making a comeback. Sam Adonis actually liked that tweet. So maybe Corey Graves steps away from commentary, goes to get ready to get back in the ring, and Jey Uso takes his spot for a while. I mean, what's it going to hurt? Seriously, what will it hurt? You're not going to put Jerry the King Lawler over there. I mean, God forbid give us Jerry the King Lawler on commentary again after all the corny and stupid-ass jokes, with the Ramen Moonsault being the most offensive one he's done so far since he's been back. But trust me, there's been more. And there will continue to be more. But that's your little breaking news update. Let me know what you think is going to happen with Jey Uso while Jimmy is out with a knee injury, and what does WWE do with this tag team division? WWE's tag team division on SmackDown, atrocious, and losing one of their best tag teams due to an injury doesn't help that division whatsoever. Yes, it has been announced at Money in the Bank. It will be a four corners not ladder match, but a Four Corners match. The New Day versus Miz and Morrison versus the Lucha House Party versus the Forgotten Sons for the tag team titles. Here's my thing. What has the Lucha House Party done to become number one contenders? They beat the Miz and Morrison. Just because the Miz and Morrison are former tag team champions does not put the Lucha House Party in line. We're not supposed to have automatic rematch clauses anymore, but here we are with the Miz and Morrison getting a rematch for their tag team titles, but they have to also go against the Forgotten Sons and the Lucha House Party. The Forgotten Sons beat the tag team champions, so they make sense. Even though, like I said Friday, the tag team champions losing to the upstart team Forgotten Sons makes no sense because the Forgotten Sons just got here. But it's how WWE wants to go. They want to give these four teams a chance at whatever the hell they're going to do at Money in the Bank. As we know, as Daniel Bryan alluded to and Michael Cole confirmed, at Money in the Bank, both briefcases will be on the line at the same time. The only logical reason why this is happening at the same time is, do you really want to see one match where everyone goes a tearing through, and then you see for the women's Money in the Bank, and then you see the men and half the building's already destroyed? No, I think that would lose its luster after one match. So combining it makes sense on the logical standpoint, but with this whole bullshit, tyrannical social distancing bullshit, which is unconstitutional, mind you, all the stuff that the government's trying to play into our hands and everything to force us to do shit that they cannot legally do, WWE, if they want to follow these social distancing guidelines where they have to keep no more than 12 people in a crowd, you have 12 people right then and there fighting in WWE headquarters at the same time with who knows how many referees, how many employees were there at that time. Don't tell me they did this when nobody was there. I mean, come on. I'm sure there's security there on a closed set, so you make sure no goofball says, hey, it's WWE headquarters, I'm going to go see what's going on over there. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there's probably 15 to 20 people in the vicinity of this entire match. So how's the crybabies and the people who love to be told what they're doing, treated like 5-year-olds, going to react to 12 people wrestling in an office building at the same time? Spoiler alert, it looks like AJ Styles might be in the 6th man for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. The Money in the Bank corporate ladder match should be fun. I think it's stupid, but you can see what they're going to be doing. Unless you want to close off half the building for the men and half the building for the women, if you don't see Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, and Asuka roughing up with the men as well, they're doing something wrong. Plain and simple, they're doing something wrong. Nia Jax took an RKO, a super kick, and a 619 in the men's Royal Rumble 2 years ago. She can mix it up with the men. Shayna Baszler could probably rip Rey Mysterio in half if she wanted to. And Asuka, you really want to see Asuka back in her Japan days getting absolutely demolished and showing how tough of a son of a bitch she can be? Go watch Minoru Suzuki just literally beat the brakes off of her in Japan, and that guy did not get domestic violence or domestic assault against Asuka, which, oh my god, that match would have happened in the States, somebody would have went to jail. That was brutal. I couldn't even watch the whole video. It's on YouTube somewhere. And that could give you nightmares if you're squeamish. It was very, very disturbing. But those 3 women, and then you have Carmella, Dana Brooke, and Lacey Evans, all in a match. If they weren't doing this at the same time, you're telling me that SmackDown's 3 women are gonna have to go up against those killers and Nia Jax? I would feel for their lives, because they're gonna be in a building where anything can happen, any wall can be broken. I still don't know why they want to do this in the office building. I mean, WWE is supposed to be eventually, but they put it on hold. They'll be building a new building to move into, or they're going to get a new building to move into. I don't know if they're building it or getting it, because they're supposed to have so much new staff. And them going through and having everybody beat the hell out of the building would make sense, because you want to just say, like, have a swan song for Titan Towers. But because that's been put on hold, why the hell are you doing this match like this? Now I understand that WWE doesn't want to have a ladder match in the empty arena in the Performance Center. However, recently, the Florida governor has come out. DeSantis and his Reopen Florida Task Force have issued a 3-phase plan to reopen the state according to WPLG Local 10. Phase 1 begins Monday for much of Florida except Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. The plan Phase 1 states that people are encouraged to not gather in large groups of 10 or larger than 10 employees. Hint on encouraged. Doesn't mean it's a fucking law. If you want to have a bonfire at your goddamn house, they can't fucking stop you. If you want to have if you own a big fucking office building and you want to have a graduation celebration for your fucking daughter or your kids, you can. They can't fucking stop you. It's your fucking right. But according to, let's see, the guy that should continue teleworking. Employees should continue teleworking, which I don't know what the fuck that means, and screen employees for symptoms if they have to report to work. Here is the problem with this entire reopening thing that's going to fuck it up for everybody. The vulnerable population, like elderly and those with underlying health issues, should stay home, which I absolutely agree. If you are elderly and this is going to kill you more than it's going to kill me, who is not elderly and not have underlying health issues, as far as I know, stay home. But you're going to have the elderly, I can understand, they're probably not going to go much of anywhere. But it's the underlying health issue people I have a problem with. Because they're going to be like, well, you can't tell me what the hell to do. I'm a tax-paying citizen. If I want to go out and watch this, go to a party, I'm going to do it. Fuck everybody, because it's me. It's my life. I can do what I want, which is all fine and good. But it's your funeral, not mine. It's just, it's one of those things that's like, they're doing this whole reopening phases. I understand they want to do that. They don't want to reopen all the way because, well, if they reopened all the way they have everyone scared to death, I still don't think many people would want to sit there in the middle of an arena full of people. I just don't think they would do that. But it takes one idiot who has a heart condition or something else that is at one of these events, passes out, gets a bullshit test, and is like, oh, they have COVID, so we have to shut everything down because of all this bullshit. Restaurants and nightclubs can operate at 50% of their capacity, while gyms and gyms, as well as gyms and fitness centers. Theme parks will remain closed. Now for the portion that could pertain to WWE, AEW, and including the UFC, which is going to have a fight card next Saturday in Florida. Large spectator events should use these tyrannical social distancing guidelines. They're not strict. These are tyrannical. It's not even fucking close to being strict. And limit to a 25% of venue capacity. Now, Daly's Place is not a big place. It's not that big, but it's actually just the ambiance of what it looks like is awesome. I think it's one of the best venues they've used for wrestling in a while. It is not a big place. Like, it's not like it's an amphitheater, so there's a lot of room. It's a capacity of 5,500. So 25% of that is 1 second here, because I am not a whiz at math in my own right. That's 1,300, and I think that's right. 1,375 people. Am I getting that right? 25%? Hold on. So yeah, 5,550. I guess 1,375 is about 25%. That's That compared to 0 fans or 10 fans is fucking amazing. I would not want to sit like AEW is going back to live this week, which they're going to be live taped, or they're going to be live this week, live next week, and I believe tape a couple after that, leading up to Double or Nothing. Here's the thing: even if you go back to having any kind of fans, if you're a WWE and you go, say they want to go to somewhere in Florida outside of the PC that has some kind of capacity and they want to give you some fans, you cannot give us what do I want to say? You can't have people go out there and expect them to pay full price for a ticket. It's just not going to work. AEW, WWE, UFC, if they come back with fans this week or next week or whenever, you can't be like saying, well, you've been gone for a while. We haven't been able to have fans for about 2 months. You paid $100 for that ticket last time. We want that $100 still. It's just not going to work at all. So, WWE, AEW could be getting fans very, very soon. And honestly, 25%, even if they said a 5% capacity or 10% capacity, you know what? I would take it. I would fucking take it. I don't care how many fans are in the crowd. Just give me some, because a lot of the fans, and WWE and AEW know this, they need fans in that crowd. Did you see when Matt Hardy and Brody Lee made their debuts in AEW, how much better that would have been even if there was 100 fans in the crowd? I don't give a shit if there was 100. If you say, you know what? We're going to put 100 in there. They're allowed to be there. We have to space them out to where they're not going to be like in contact with each other. If there's a family who comes, like if 4 or 5 people come as a group who are family, we're going to sit them there and right beside each other. We're going to space it out a little bit more. If they're there, they can make noise. It will sound like there's a fucking... AEW can make it seem like there's 1,000 people there. Just get some fans in these goddamn arenas, please. If Florida is allowing you to have fans, please, 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 let it happen. People might say much to the chagrin, but it's about time. It's been way too long. Don't want to hear another bullshit thing about, oh well, they're not being safe anymore. What's wrong? Why can't you just hold it back a little bit longer? Fuck that. Everything that you've been hearing from the media, from Dr. Fauci or Dr. Birx, has been nothing but fucking lies. Use your fucking head and realize they want you indoors so that the spread of this virus can stick around for as long as it can, so they can do whatever they are doing behind our backs. It's time, and I'm glad that one governor in this entire fucking country is actually having a fucking brain. Now, other states, there is another state, apparently, that wants to bring in wrestling and combat sports. According, if I can get it right here, looks like Oklahoma is going to be looking to bring in combat sports to the Sioux State as a way to boost revenue in spite of the coronavirus pandemic bullshit. Governor Stitt, I think I get his name, Stitt, is trying to bring pro wrestling, MMA, and boxing in as a way to generate revenue. But they need to allow fans. How the fuck are you going to generate revenue if there are not people coming to the arenas and watching these shows live? Yeah, it's great that you can bring in, that you could say AEW, WWE, or boxing and wrestling is essential, but they can't have any fans. Where's the revenue going to come from? Can someone explain that to me? Where is the revenue going to come from? They might. Now, the only revenue that Oklahoma or any other state would get if there's no fans is them renting out the buildings. The reason that AEW and WWE are able to do these shows and not have to worry about renting out buildings is because WWE already rents out the Performance Center, and I believe the Khan family has a stake in Daly's place, so they don't have to pay rent to use it. So I like the fact that Oklahoma's governor is like, you know what? We're going to try and bring these in because it's working for Florida, apparently. and it gives wrestling companies options, or other combat sports options, that they don't just have to stick to Florida. But if you don't have a crowd whatsoever, where are you getting the revenue? I mean, yes, renting out the buildings will get that building revenue, but where are you going to get the revenue for everything else? You're not selling hot dogs, you're not selling t-shirts at venues, you're not doing all that stuff. Where are you going to get revenue if there are no fans? It's being speculated that there may be a political perspective on there being far less scrutiny on bringing in sports that the media really doesn't care about. Sports that don't have unions, so there won't be pressure to the same outside pressure for safety. The idea is the first state to open up arenas, the fans will be able to draw promoters to run shows before the rest of the country opens up from COVID-19. But, as we know, the lack of media coverage is not a for certain, because Florida's governor has been in the media since he decided that WWE was essential and all other sports were essential without fans. There have been people for it, there have been people against it, and it's just one of those talking points that you have heard for probably weeks on end, that this guy is an idiot, what the hell is he doing, blah, 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 blah. Listen, we have had this pandemic bullshit going on really since January. And WWE has held live events since January of this year, and there hasn't been a major outbreak. It hasn't been one of those breaking news WWE show, WWE, like fans in WWE, and let me see how this goes. Breaking news: fans at local WWE events had there was a big outbreak at last night's WWE or AEW event. The only thing that's happened since this entire thing has happened is some basketball players got it, or a football coach got it, or a hockey player, or somebody who worked in the area, in the venues, in the venue for the San Jose Sharks got it. Doesn't mean it came from there. The person, and there was one person, we don't know who, they didn't tell us who, was in WWE, was called, they didn't say who it was, but they, after the tapings for WrestleMania, they went out with a couple friends to eat. That's fine, that's what you do after doing 3, 4, 6 hours worth of tapings in 2-3 days. You go and you treat yourself because you had a hell of a job. It's an on-air, non-wrestling talent, so it has to either be a referee, or Michael Cole, Byron Saxton, Tom Phillips, or JBL, or the timekeeper, or one of those people. We don't know. But they were named, and they were not named, but it was said that they had COVID. And then, guess what? They didn't die from it. They had the symptoms, and the symptoms went away. Guess what? WWE hasn't stopped. WWE keeps going. AEW has been doing wrestling shows for the last 2 months almost, with very little crowds, and they've had wrestlers out there doing their best to liven these shows up. Have we heard about a major outbreak in AEW? Have we heard any of the AEW talents coming down with COVID? No. So I think it's high time to get off for them to get off their high horses, opening up these fucking arenas. I don't care if it's 25%, and give us shows with at least 100 people in the crowd. I don't care if it's 15, 20, 30, fucking 100 people. Just give us a crowd. A crowd is needed for these fucking shows ASAP. According to Wrestling Observer, the potential for, and this was fucking, I don't know if this was Dave or somebody else at Wrestling Observer, but this was fucking stupid as hell. Potential from the flip side of opening things up back early, back up, the quote-unquote riskier it will be, and the rush to avoid the lies from the media and the quote-unquote medical experts who are bought off, paid off to make you fucking fear for your own life. Here's the truth, motherfuckers. Life is bad. Life is scary. Life is not safe 100% of the time. You could wake up tomorrow, walk out, go to walk down your stairs, fall down your stairs, and die. Are you going to stop going up and down your stairs? No. So go out there, live your life. Don't listen to fucking idiots out there who sit there and want to say, oh, this is a bad thing, virus bad, stay home. Enough of this shit. Enough of it. Now, sacrificing quote-unquote health for short revenue could quote-unquote jeopardize the health of everyone involved. You could say that to anybody who goes home, who comes out from their house when they're sick as a dog and the flu, and they have to go to work because if they don't work, they don't get paid. Guess what they're doing? They're jeopardizing every person they come in contact with, their health and their safety. But do we shut down the economy when somebody goes to work sick as a fuck, sick from the flu? No, we do not. Why do we do it now? Because you're all fucking stupid. There's no one at the local home that has reached out to WWE or AEW, but it'll be interesting to see how serious this is bringing in ring action to the Sooner State. Now, this one came from Russell Votes a couple days ago, that according to them, and here's the quote, hearing from a few different sources that WWE is willing to grant a release to just about anyone who requests one. Basically, a talent wants out, they can go. We'll be interested to see if anyone really does want out, especially during this uncertain times. And that is the thing. If this was happening at any other time in WWE's history, where they're like, you know what, we need to cut costs because we're having a down year and things aren't going our way, they could say, they would put a bulletin up and says, if you want to leave if you're not happy here and you want fired, write your name down here and we'll give you your walking papers. I guarantee you there is at least 20 people in that company right now who would sign on that dotted line and go on to do literally anything else, whether it's working for an AEW, working for an independent promotion, or not even wrestling anymore. But now, with those 6-figure contracts, those 5-year meaty contracts that WWE signed just about everybody who's on the roster to, I don't think anybody really wants to go. Curtis Axel was released this past week, which honestly, he should have left weeks ago, months ago. No, he should have left years ago. This guy, Curtis Axel, came up with the second season of the... Was it the second season? Second season. Yeah, second season of NXT. Then he came over to become part of the new Nexus with CM Punk. And he was known as Michael McGillicuddy. What a fucking terrible name. And he was branded Michael McGillicuddy for years. And then Paul Heyman was the advocate to Brock Lesnar in 2014 when Brock Lesnar beat the Streak, which he should not have done. Even Brian Gewirtz, who was the Raw head writer for many, many years, came out just recently and said the Streak should have never been broken. So Brock Lesnar went away. But WWE wanted to keep Paul Heyman on the card on Monday Night Raw to give you that dose of reminder that Brock Lesnar was the one in 21-1. So what did they do? They paired him up with Michael McGillicuddy, and not soon after that, Paul Heyman put it as he wants to pay homage to his father, Mr. Perfect, and Kurt Hennig, and his grandfather, Larry the Axe Hennig, and he is now Curtis Axel. They could have did a little bit better, I'm pretty sure, with naming him, and I'm pretty sure if you thought about it, I'm sure they could have came up with something better than Curtis Axel. But right now, I just can't think of it. Kurt Axel would have been better, but they want Curtis? No. Kurt Axel would have been better in my opinion. Give it that IS. It just really, really hampers the Ming name. But Curtis Axel went on to win the Intercontinental title on Father's Day, which would make him and his father, I think, the only father-son duo to win the Intercontinental title. I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me. Then, of course, Paul Heyman had Ryback join them as Rybackson. They were a tag team. They did nothing. Eventually, he split with Paul Heyman. And then Curtis Axel, for years, did absolutely nothing but toil in mid-card purgatory. And then the B team happened. You remember the B team? Before the B team, there was the Miz Taraj, Curtis Axel, and Bo Dallas, the henchmen to the Miz. And honestly, I think that was the best thing that happened to him for a while. They went out there, they were the Miz's cronies, they got TV time, you got to see what these guys could do. And then when the Miz went to SmackDown in the 2017 draft, or no, I'm sorry, not draft, but Superstar Shakeup, 2017 or 2018, they split them away from the Miz. The Miz went over to SmackDown, they stayed on Raw, and that's where Miz has been ever since. And then they became the B team. The worst WWE theme ever. You remember, B team, no, go, go, go. And it was just, oh my god, are you kidding me? This is what we get. This is what we get on our television. It's two guys who would win a match by a fluke and then celebrate as if they just won the World Cup, they just won the Super Bowl, they just won the main event of WrestleMania. It was so bad. Now, with the fact that WrestleVotes did point out that WWE is pretty much releasing everybody, was this Curtis Axel going to WWE management like, listen, I haven't done anything since the B team. Pretty much they went from Raw, they won the tag team titles for a bit, they got squashed by, I believe was it Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler for the tag team championships. They were heels, but they were supposed to be good heels. But they lost the tag team titles, went down the mid-card purgatory, was drafted over to SmackDown, had one, maybe two matches, and did nothing. They've been gone since then. So, was it that WWE released him, or did Curtis Axel on their own volition, or did Curtis Axel go to them and say, you know what, this isn't working for me anymore, I haven't done anything in a while, you guys just see me at home, you might as well just cut me because you could be saving, like, I'm not doing anything and I want to, but you don't have anything for me, so let's just wait, let's stop wasting each other's time. So, who could be released now? There could be, I don't see anybody, unless you're like a Curtis Axel. Hell, even Bo Rotundo, aka Bo Dallas, could probably want to be gone. Yes, Bray Wyatt, his brother, which, WWE, you could have done it sometime when Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas they teased it in NXT too multiple times back in the day, back in 2012, when they were both down there. These two never got that brother feud that they should have had, because Bo Dallas, and the only thing that we saw between Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt was the B team versus the leader of worlds. But man, could you imagine if Bo Dallas would have been pushed as much as his brother, and then you could have had Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt, which, by the way, the Bo Dallas name it's not a bad wrestling name, I will say that, but Bo Dallas does not fit Bo Rotundo. Rotunda, I think, is his actual last name, but still, it just didn't fit him. But maybe he's next. Maybe we'll see that Bo Dallas has been released from his contract. I mean, IRS has been furloughed. That's their father. On tax day, he got furloughed. How about that shit? So, who else could be released? I couldn't tell you. Give me. Let's see. I have their roster on my phone right now. AJ Styles isn't going anywhere. Akam is not going anywhere. Akira Tozawa, no. Aleister Black, no. Andrade, no. Angel Garza, Angel Dawkins, Apollo Crews, no. Austin Theory, Big Show, Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar, Cedric Alexander, Drew McIntyre, Raymond Rowe, Humberto Carrillo, Warbeard Hansen, Jinder Mahal, Kevin Owens, Montez Ford, Murphy, MVP, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Rezar, Ricochet, Riddick Moss could be out of here. That could be the one I could see. R-Truth, I would be shocked. If R-Truth's name ever came up with come to terms with his release, because If you watch the 24 documentary on R-Truth, it was that was awesome. Miss Vince McMahon is a major fan of R-Truth. He is, when he goes on these tours, like these tours to go to thank the troops and everything, R-Truth is by Vince McMahon's side every time. So that guy, if anybody, has a contract for as long as Vince McMahon's around. He's not going anywhere. Samoa Joe, Seth Rollins, Shelton Benjamin could be gone too, and Titus O'Neil. Out of everybody I named from the Raw roster, Riddick Moss and Shelton Benjamin are the two I could see out of here. Everyone else, Titus O'Neil doesn't wrestle. I think he actually might be retired, but no one, like, he does so much for WWE outside of being an on-air talent, so I don't see him going anywhere. I just don't see it happening. The SmackDown Women's Asuka, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair just got there. Billie Kay I could see being gone. Kairi Sane, that's still up in the air what she's actually doing. Lana, Liv Morgan, Natalya, Nia Jax, Peyton Royce could be out of here too if she wants to be. Ruby Riott, Shayna Baszler, and Zelina Vega out of the Raw Women's roster, which is a bigger roster than you would actually think. I would say the Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, because when was the last time we saw the Idiotics? Your guess is as good as mine. Now, the SmackDown, you have Big E, Bo Dallas, again, could be out of here. Braun Strowman, Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler, Drew Gulak, Elias, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, Grand Metalik, Jackson Ryker, Jeff Hardy, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Shawn Morrison, Kalisto, Kane, for some reason, Baron Corbin, Kofi Kingston, Lars Sullivan. Lars Sullivan, you know what? I'm really surprised about this. We had on April 15th that entire list of talent who got released. Lars Sullivan was nowhere to be found. I honestly think Vince McMahon's forgotten he even works for them. I honestly don't think Vince McMahon knows Lars Sullivan is still under contract. I mean, there was talk of Lars Sullivan. He should be back by now. He got injured way midway through last year and should be back by now. But apparently there hasn't even been talk of Lars Sullivan in the back. There's no mention of him. He's not on any boards for people coming back from injury. I think WWE is just going to let Lars Sullivan's contract run its course and then just move on from him. He's not even worth releasing to them. That's got to be sad. Lindsay Dorado, The Miz, Mojo Rawley, which Mojo might be out of here. I mean, this guy, for about 3 weeks, was thanking his lucky stars that Rob Gronkowski came to WWE because that was his in to do anything on WWE. Then Rob Gronkowski went back to the NFL to play with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So he could be gone too. Mustafa Ali, no idea what's going on with him. Otis, Robert Roode, don't know what's going on with him. Roman Reigns, which seems to be blacklisted right now in WWE's rhetoric. Sami Zayn, Sheamus, Shinsuke Nakamura, Chad Gable, Steve Cutler, Tucker, and Wesley Blake. Of the men on SmackDown, if anybody was to be released or asked for their release, Mojo Rawley and Mojo Rawley. Yeah, Mojo Rawley. Yeah, Mojo Rawley. And Xavier Woods is also there too. The women's roster is a lot bigger than you would think it is. Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Ember Moon, who has been injured for a while. Lacey Evans, Mandy Rose, Mickie James. Mickie James, I'm surprised, hasn't been released or hasn't asked for her release. I mean, when was the last time we saw Mickie James? And she's not injured. Oh, she was injured at one time, I guess, but she's not injured now. Naomi, Nikki Cross, Sasha Banks, Sonya Deville, and Tamina. And other than Mickie James, this is sad, and Ember Moon, we have seen everybody else on SmackDown since WrestleMania or around WrestleMania. So yeah, and that is SmackDown. And honestly, the only one I could see being asked for the release is Mickie James, and I would not fault her. She has done literally nothing in months. The only thing that she has done of any importance in the last 3 or 4 years since she made her return was La Luchadora on SmackDown when Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss were feuding, and the WWE's poor attempt to have Alexa Bliss make fun of her age. That was about it. Mickie James, And it was funny because they did that whole making fun of her age, and then Mickie James became super best friends with Alexa Bliss again. They actually vied for the tag team titles in the Elimination Chamber the very first time. Unfortunately, they weren't successful, and now Alexa Bliss, as a babyface in her better role, I think this is honestly Alexa Bliss's best role is with Nikki Cross. As long as they keep them two together, I think Alexa Bliss will be in the best position she is going to be for a very long time. And then, of course, you have NXT. Arturo Ruas, I'm surprised, hasn't been released. Boa should be released. He hasn't done anything. He does nothing. Hell, for the way WWE does everything, we might not even know half of these people being released. Yeah. So I don't like anybody who is there. And here's another thing. And WWE is cutting cost. They have an entire NXT UK division that if they really wanted to, and I'm pretty sure every single day Triple H is fighting, Triple H and Shawn Michaels are fighting tooth and nail to make sure that this does not get cut. Because I'm pretty sure that's on the chopping block at NXT UK. Because honestly, why would WWE want to keep it around? It doesn't draw them any money. It's only really appeals to the UK audience, and WWE just doesn't have the, like, they can't do tapings of NXT UK. Everyone's stuck in the UK, and that's locked down worse than the United States is. So, and all those filings happened. I don't think we're going to see many more, and if there are more releases, we probably won't hear from them. Now, if anybody, a couple weeks ago, saw part 1 and part 2 of the Dark Side of the Rings look at the murder-suicide thing of Chris Benoit, Nancy Benoit, and their son. I think it's David, right? Or Daniel. But Chris Jericho, in the second part, mentioned that women should be in the Hall of Fame. But he also mentioned before that yes, Nancy should be in the Hall of Fame just because of everything she did before she met Chris Benoit, before she married Chris Benoit. From Fallen Angel to Woman to her feud, her manager, her being a manager of the early 90s in WCW and other like-minded promotions. Mick Foley advocates that she should be in the Hall of Fame as well. He said in a recent Facebook post, "For the first time I can recall talk surfaced of Nancy possibly being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, a topic I never really considered. But seeing the Dark Side of the Ring, re-establishing contact with Sandra, and looking back at Nancy's career these past couple of weeks, it has been an eye-opening for me. I would love to see Nancy inducted to the Hall of Fame under whichever character her family and WWE collectively decide." He continues, "For her work as Fallen Angel, I believe she deserves to be inducted. As her work for Woman during her first run in WCW when she feuded with Rick Steiner, managed Doom, and managed the Four Horsemen, I believe she deserves to be included. For her run in ECW and her second run in WCW, where she helped create a fascinating angle that blurred the lines between story and reality, which of course was her when she was married to Kevin Sullivan, and then in storyline she was acquired by Chris Benoit, and then her and Chris Benoit eventually started dating in real life, got married, and Kevin Sullivan legitimately booked his own divorce. Which, as Nancy's sister said in the documentary, it went from being funny to where it wasn't funny anymore. I believe she deserved to be inducting Nancy Toffoloni into the WWE Hall of Fame is the right thing to do. Let us remember her and define her for who she was and what she did in life," end quote. Now, yes, Nancy, or Woman, Fallen Angel, whatever name you want to go with, deserves 100% to be in the Hall of Fame. Here is the problem. Because it's not her fault either, and it sucks. Yes, there are victims twice. There's, like, Chris's son, David, who was interviewed by Christopher Bleet a couple months ago. He has been a victim for the entire time, the last 13 years. Excuse me. The guy couldn't even finish school finish school that year because of what his father did. It sucks that, how are you going, here's the thing, how are you going to induct this woman, have a video package for her, and then everyone gets a nice beautiful video package. If they died, you give us a reason, they talk about it. How are you going to finish off this video package with Nancy Benoit? And yes, Mick Foley mentions that second run, which saw her go from being the wife and the valet of Kevin Sullivan to being the wife and valet of Chris Benoit for a while. But I can't do it. I just can't see WWE doing it. I can't. WWE is going, it's just like Chris Benoit. You can never separate what happened to Chris Benoit and what happened to the family from his accolades. Had Chris Benoit just committed suicide, his wife and his son did not die. He would be in the Hall of Fame. It would be questioned what the hell happened to him, when did it all go wrong, but WWE would not erase Chris Benoit from the WWE library, from the encyclopedia, from everything. You would see the hug between Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, two guys who were best friends in this company. You would see that during WrestleMania rewinds year in and year out, but unfortunately it's just not going to happen. It sucks that it's like Chris Benoit doing what happened. What happened, having Chris Benoit do what he did to his family. He has not only screwed his life and damn near took down the wrestling business and brought it and took it back decades. Then they had to work their asses off to get it to where people would actually not scrutinize it as much as they would for a good while. And yes, if he was in the right frame of mind, Chris Benoit, if you told him that if you do what you're going to do, you're going to ruin you're going to damn near kill what you love, he probably wouldn't have done it, but you can't go and do that. It's just WWE. It's like I love these video packages that WWE do. I want to see the Juice and Liger one they had queued up that they didn't get the chance to show. The one they had for the British Bulldog. But you just it's like, here's woman in her, here's Nancy Tofanoni, and here's what she did from her beginning of her career to where she went to WCW in 2000 until WCW in mid 99 2000, and then she retired. And then what are you gonna do to finish that off? You can't just be like, oh, she retired, and then you can't. Then you're gonna expect people to be like, well, what are you gonna do? I just don't see how they would end that video. And then when you get to the Hall of Fame, when Mark Henry, I believe it was when Mark Henry got inducted in the Hall of Fame, Mark Henry mentioned how he pretty much went into a business for himself for a minute and spoke to Owen Hart's widow and said, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. You should let it happen. Tears in his eyes and everything. Sentimental and awesome moment, but I'm pretty sure there were people back in WWE in the back. Vince McMahon himself probably not too happy with the fact that he sat there and said what he said about Owen Hart. Just because that's how WWE goes, and I'm sure. What the fuck's her name? Martha Hart. That's it. Yeah, Martha Hart probably didn't appreciate it and probably thought, oh, Vince McMahon or someone in the back put him up to that because they want Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame. We all do. It's just not going to happen until the day that Martha Hart passes on is the day that WWE will get the okay to put him in the Hall of Fame. It's just not going to happen before then. This is a different scenario where there's just no way. It's not fair to Nancy because she is a victim. She is a double victim because she was killed by not. She was killed by not her own hands. That is the thing. She was killed. She died, and it wasn't because of natural causes or by her own means. Somebody, somebody named her husband as. But there are conspiracy theorists say that Benoit did not kill his wife. I'm not going to tell you not to think that because I can't convince people to do that. But she died, and unfortunately, the way she died is going to put a stain on her legacy, even though she did nothing wrong. And it's going to hurt her. It's going to hurt, and it's going to keep her from being in the Hall of Fame. You could have every single legend out there who met Nancy in her life, from Kevin Sullivan to Mick Foley, possibly Tommy Dreamer, possibly RVD, possibly Hulk Hogan himself, and anybody else from WCW, ECW who met her in their lifetime, even WWE in their lifetime, could sit there and come out and say she should be in the Hall of Fame. It's just not going to happen, and it's not because she doesn't deserve it. It's because of the nature of how she was taken from the world. It's not fair, it's not right, but it's how things are going to be. It's just what it is. I can't say it any other way. But one more thing before we get out of here, but let me know in the comment section below what you think on WWE keeping Nancy Benoit out of the Hall of Fame. Because if they wanted to say Fallen Angel or Woman is going to the Hall of Fame, fine. That's fine. I have no problem with that. You should have no problem with that. But the biggest thing that you have to worry about, as I was mentioning with Mark Henry talking about Owen Hart, and begging Martha to let him in the Hall of Fame. I guarantee you, if you put Nancy's sister up there on a podium, you put anybody from her family on the podium to accept her induction, one of them is going to be very, like, not nice, and go off on Chris Benoit in the WWE. That is the biggest thing, and that's another reason why WWE doesn't want to do it, and probably won't do it, is because you give somebody who lost their loved one, friend or loved one, to somebody that they trusted and they loved and cared about. It's going to set off, and it's going to be one of those moments where teens, say Nancy Woman was put into the Hall of Fame in 2021. 14 years of built-up frustration that this company pretty much just abandoned Nancy's family from the get-go. That's another thing about that documentary, is that they abandoned Nancy and Chris's family from the get-go. They only sent JR as a pity to the fact that everything happened to Nancy. But if they even thought of bringing them in to accept her induction, you better hope that you have the ability to turn that mic off within a second, because they would, I guarantee you, they're going off on you, Chris Benoit, and anybody else they feel responsible for what happened to Nancy and their son, and her son. And WWE's not going to do it. That's exactly why. It's also the same reason why Chyna will never get a single induction, even though she deserves it. Because WWE that's how they go. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you think about Nancy Benoit not being inducted in the Hall of Fame, and how would you do it? How would you set this up to where you could do a Nancy induction without mentioning her husband whatsoever? Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. That's not the case. Now, Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch. Where has Becky Lynch been? Where has Becky been since WrestleMania? Hell if I should know. Apparently, she's been out shooting TV shows. She landed a part in a Marvel film. We don't know what it is. She's going to be in the upcoming season of Billions on, I believe, Showtime. He put out a teaser video and just tagged the words Becky Billions. She's also going to be in a Marvel film. Who knows? I would say possibly Captain Marvel 2 or Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or Thor Love and Thunder. There are a lot of movies that are not shot yet that she could be in. But just something I wanted to throw out there. Also, Zeb Coulter came out this week. I don't know where he's getting his information, and it's something you literally cannot, I repeat, cannot take with a pinch of, you have to take with a pinch of salt. Zeb Coulter came out a couple days ago and said, hey, I heard that WWE is up for sale. Now, WWE could be up for sale. We don't know that. More than likely, not. But I'm not going to sit there and say they're not. Because WWE is in so much hell right now. There has been lawsuits filed against WWE for mismanagement of their earnings. They have been sued left and right by like 2 or 3 investors. It's just a lot of hell going on. And if you saw, of course, like I said last Friday, Vince McMahon and the way he came out and was just all over the place mentioning the gobbledygooker, Katie Figg, Bailey, this is your life. That right there should scare you. This guy is running this company into the ground. And something needs to get back on the come up, like WWE needs to come back on the rebound, or Vince McMahon is probably going to lose his fucking mind way too long. This company just things are just going crazy. I know I'm talking like gibberish and whatnot, but this company has got a lot to. They have a lot to lose, really. They really do. They have a lot to lose if they don't get their shit together. WWE is just doing what they can. I know WWE and AEW are doing what they can to get by. We are in this bullshit fear-mongering crap that we're going through, and they're just trying to do what they can. But if you saw the ratings for this week, Raw has set an all-time low. AEW bounced back last week, and I think they dropped a little bit this week. And SmackDown, of course, in the overnight tumbled as well, with NXT going down as well. I didn't mention this any other time, but I did hear Brian Alvarez talk about it, that the reason, like one of the biggest reasons why NXT is really suffering right now, you have Raw and SmackDown. You're using a limited roster. You're not even using everybody. You have Sheamus come out. He faces this Denzel DeJounte, this Denzel guy from NXT. They specifically say from NXT. What does Sheamus do? Is this Denzel guy got a lick of a chance to do anything against Sheamus? No. He goes out there, he gets murdered. He gets beat. He gets battered. He gets bro kicked to the next week, into the next 3 sections. Why would somebody tune into NXT when guys like that are getting buried? Akira Tozawa. A little bit bigger name. Everyone knows who he is. A former Cruiserweight champion in his own right. Comes up to Monday Night Raw. He's a part of this interim Cruiserweight title tournament. And what happens? You put him up against Jinder Mahal. Again, former Cruiserweight champion. In his own right. Somebody who could go out there and give you a hell of a match. What do? You let us know he's from NXT, but you squash him. Why the fuck would I want to watch NXT if I wasn't somebody who watches NXT? I don't review it anymore because why would I? It's not what it used to be, and it's just right now I can only handle 2 shows that have that full empty arena. If AEW starts doing that, I'm gonna have to shut down from that completely. But Akira Tozawa, just in this title tournament, it's like, hey, watch this guy on NXT compete for the interim championship. But he's a loser. Why would anyone care about NXT? WWE needs to think outside of the box and do something ASAP. because fans are not going to give a shit. The biggest thing that's going to be that sucks for AEW and WWE, yes, AEW is doing things a lot better and a lot different. The last few episodes, the last 6 or 7 episodes, have had a crowd of some kind, whether it's 10 or 11 talent outside the ring. It's better than nothing. But the one downside to having these shows with damn near empty arenas, and empty arena in WWE's case, is that you're turning fans off that won't come back ever. When a TV show, like say The Walking Dead, you get tired, you love The Walking Dead. Say you love The Walking Dead when it first came out, and then as the seasons go on, it's great for the first 4 or 5 seasons, and then when it gets to season 6, it starts to taper off and it starts getting terrible. What are you going to do? Are you going to stick around, or are you going to stop watching and find something else to watch? You're probably going to find something else to watch, and Walking Dead, bye-bye. WWE and AEW are setting a precedent that, hey, they have to run these shows, because if they don't have a fucking show to show, guess what? They lose those TV contracts. And if they lose those TV contracts, both companies go belly up, and both companies are dead, and we have no professional wrestling ever. Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor and New Japan, whenever they come back doing whatever the fuck they're doing, will be all we have. But you're driving away fans, and it sucks. And it really sucks for AEW, because the week that Brody Lee and Matt Hardy made their debut was going to be the final episode of AEW before we got Blood and Guts the next week. The next week got Blood and Guts. If they didn't hit 1 million viewers for Blood and Guts, I would have been shocked. But they were on such a high momentum swing. They was like the pendulum. They were swinging up and going up that hill, and they weren't coming back down for a very, very long time. And then this pandemic shit happened, and everything went down really, really fast. What else can you do? I'm just hoping that the governor of Florida lets, like I said, I don't care if it's 100 fans, I don't care if it's 50 fans. If there's people in the fucking crowd who aren't just the same wrestlers every single fucking week, it'll make a hell of a lot of difference. Hopefully we can get that. And I'm moving on from here. I'm gone. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Follow me on Twitter at The France Club, follow me on Twitch.tv and Instagram at The France Club, and I will see you guys tomorrow for Monday Night Raw, the go-home show to the craziest, strangest, unpredictable Money in the Bank we have ever had. Until then, my name is The France, and I'll see you guys later.